Give you your soy tofu burger.
I'll give you guys a quick science corner.
Please.
So we've talked in the past about the human gut biome, 10 trillion bacterial cells living in our gut biome. And it turns out, and there has been this theory for many years, that a lot of human disease actually originates in the gut. And there's increasingly evidence of how and why this happens. So it turns out that your immune cells can sometimes see a protein on the outside of a bacteria that sits in your gut, and it attacks that bacteria and it tries to get rid of it. That protein can look a little bit like a human protein at some cell in your body. And so that then triggers an autoimmune reaction, meaning you are now making these antibodies to proteins that look a lot like your proteins in other parts of your body. And then your cells start to destroy yourself and you end up having inflammation and disease. And they found evidence of this across a lot of disease states. So just the other day, published in the journal Science Translational Medicine, was a really interesting paper by a team that identified a very specific bacteria that we find in the gut that can actually trigger rheumatoid arthritis. And so, I think 2 million Americans have rheumatoid arthritis. It's a really debilitating inflammatory disease. And we never understood where the inflammation comes from. Why is the human immune cell creating antibodies to attack its own protein in the joints of the body? And now it looks like that the protein that we find in the joints of the body has some overlap or three-dimensional structure that looks similar to the protein we'll find on this very specific gut bacteria that they found, which creates obviously a path now for if we can stop that gut bacteria from proliferating or existing in the gut over time, that can have a reduction in the incidence rate of rheumatoid arthritis.
Did they guess what the mechanism of action was?
So the mechanism of action is typically what's called, generally speaking, protein mimicry. And so protein mimicry means that there's so think about a protein as being like, a clumpy rock. And there's some part of the clumpy rock that looks a little bit like the part of another clumpy rock. And that's the protein. Think about that as being the protein on the bacterial cell and the protein in your joint cells. And so your body makes an antibody to that little part of the rock on the bacterial cell to get rid of it. And then there's some overlap that looks a little bit like your own cell. And so that's called protein mimicry. And because of the ability now to do DNA sequencing, and now with some of the AlphaFold technology, we can actually take the genome from that bacteria, predict the 3D structure of the proteins created by that bacteria, and then potentially identify that there's a mimicry or an overlap between our own protein and our cells and the protein of the bacteria, which is why we're having autoimmunity, which now our immune cells are not just attacking the bacteria,
we could solve arthritis. We could solve for arthritis.
And so there's a lot of disease states that are starting to look like this. So the combination of DNA sequencing and our ability to identify organisms in the gut biome, and by the way, so much of this goes back to the gut biome. We're finding all these disease states from lupus to Sjogren's to rheumatoid arthritis that have some linkage back to some bacteria that shows up in your gut. And so now we can be very targeted potentially about eradicating that bacteria from the gut, or, kind of changing our gut biome in a way that ultimately resolves to eliminating that disease risk. And so it's really fascinating. Yeah.
Chamath, any thoughts on this gut biome?
I mean, I always knew the solution was either in Friedberg's gut, or his anus.
In his gut or on Uranus.
Friedberg science corner. All right. Hey,
do it again. The joke didn't land.
All right, here we go. One more time. So Chamath, any feedback on this? It's pretty great science going on here.
I mean, it was always 50-50 that the solution was either your gut or Uranus.
Okay, you can't laugh till after you land the joke. Come on, do it again.
I saw it coming. It was coming around the corner, and
by the way, I think you guys should leave this all in.
I started peeking out of.
Let's get this right for the fans. Come on.
Here we go. 3, 2. All right, Chamath. It seems like very interesting science. They're coming out of Science Corner.
50-50. Your gut or Uranus.
We can't even get it out. I mean, you tried to get it out of his anus. It was poking. It was like a little turtle coming out of his anus, but you couldn't get it out.
Oh my God. 50-50, your gut or Uranus.
It's like the entire Science Corner is just here for us to beat up the nerd and throw him in a locker.
Oh my God. My stomach is hurting. Oh my God.
Poor guy.
Oh, I needed that.
You ever see Smokey and the Bandit when they have the reels at the end, Sacks? With Dom DeLuise and Burt Reynolds? I just keep losing it. That's what this is turned.
Oh my God.
It's like, I'm going to say Science Corner, and people are going to just start laughing and thinking about Friedberg's anus. All right, listen. Welcome home, Sacks. We missed you for your week off. And
We missed you, David.
We missed you, David.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. And we'll see you over on Market Street. No announcements right now. No testimonials, no announcements. I'll see you at yoga. We're going to doing our
I'll see you at the homeless shelter. We're volunteering today, right?
Yeah, volunteering. I'll see you over at the homeless shelter.
You're pouring soup?
If you could get me a tofu salad with extra tempeh before Friedberg eats it all.
Oh God, tempeh. Don't get me started on tempeh.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna pour all the oatmeal out. I'm going right to the cafeteria. I'm going right to the cafe. I'm getting all the oatmeal right down the drain. Me and Sacks are emptying
there should be one
milk
non-lactose alternative, and then one
it's
milk.
Black coffee. It's called black coffee. That's it. If you're lactose intolerant, lactose intolerant milk.
No, have
one.
One thing without lactose. So whatever that is.
Can we wrap the show now?
No, we're having too much fun. Okay.
Can you imagine the distribution of gluten-free snacks? I mean, there you should have a few, but all kinds of different snacks. And by the way, the keto snacks have horrendous amounts of chemicals in it. The xylitol. What is xylitol? Why would you eat that?
Xylitol will screw up your stomach, man. Do not have that.
It's horrible.
Friedberg, you want to tell everybody about xylitol and the impact it has on your anus? No, it seriously does. I think xylitol is the thing that gives you a lot of gas and you just keep ripping. I think it's really bad for you. Here's an idea.
Way to go, J-Cal.
Yeah, now he's going to turn into a school shooter.
That's your fault. You were mean to him.
You came up with the anus jokes. That was all
I've been doing that joke for 5 years with him.
You're a bully.
I'm not. No.
You bullied Friedberg off the show. No. You brigaded him. We brigaded him on the show.
We brigadooned
him. We brigadooned our bestie. Sorry, bestie. All right. 4. The dictator himself, Chamath Palihapitiya, going into sweater season. I might note it's going to be a big Q4 for us.
Big Q4.
And the beep of the Beep Corporation, David Sacks.
Oh, if you mean the general partner of Craft Ventures.
Yes, the general partner of Craft Ventures. That's it. And the Queen of Quinoa, the Prince of Panic Tax, the Ambassador of Uranus, David Friedberg. We will see you next time. I'm Jake Cal.
Love you, boys.
Moderator. Love you, guys.
Bye-bye.
We'll let your winners ride.
Rain Man, David Sacks.
And instead, we open source it to the fans, and they've just gone crazy with it.
Love you, besties. The Queen of Quinoa.
Let your winners ride.
Besties are gone. 13.
That's my dog taking a notice in your driveway, Sacks.
Oh, man.
My haberdasher will meet me at Clinton. We should all just get a room and just have one big huge orgy because they're all just useless. It's like this sexual tension that they just need to release somehow.
Wet your beak. Wet your beak.
Your feet.
We need to get merch.
I'm going all in.